live with me, Bonolo BSting, right here on Kaya 959 on the street and on the air. Today we're chatting to a creative. I'm going to make sure I say this name correctly. I give it a menu. Makumele, ne?
Makumele. Yeah. Makumele ka kefa. Gantle. Ya bantse bang ba tla o chaela gore ke Mak Manaka. Wa bona cause when you say it like that o ka re ke Coca-Cola. O ka se re Coca. Wa bona like sontso re Mak Manaka straight. Mara ke Makumele ka kefa phukutsing phatlele khotlo la sepela botse go motsegara ke tshaba le ke nna Manaka mo kono wa ntshidi golo maela go phola mo kono wa la tlhantla kana wa topana huma le ka dinala.
I love it, man. Welcome back to Kaya 959, man.
Hola ops.
I was so excited when, there was that press release, and I was like, the brother is opening up a publishing house and an online store? Come on now.
Yo, Modimo, hey, my sister, it's a journey that, because it's a muscle like atlaring I'm not quite familiar with.
Yeah.
Look, the what happens behind the scenes is not what we are all privileged to sort of experience. Finished product, So I'm taking staging. This is what you know. You're like, okay, like it's a poem, make it station, But what happens behind the scenes? How does one actually get the stuff there? And whatnot. So this is it's a kind of a muscle that I'm not that much familiar with, and it's something that I'm training myself on and learning. I mean, you can never stop growing. You can never stop learning, So the publishing house is it's still in a I mean, it's a whole lot. It's a long one. What's a napkin? It's a macapilation. It's a lady. It's a capilla. So, I mean, there's a lot of resources that are sort of, and I'm looking at it and I'm asking myself, I mean, to deal with the printers, dealing with especially for this project now, dealing with the poets, dealing with the translators, having to sit them down, having to explain A, B, and C, and also now dealing with the layout design person. So it's a whole conglomerate of it's a constellation of people that know what they do.
But it's beautiful that you're starting it, because at some point it's gonna be like, you're going to know it with the back of your hand and be like, okay, I need to do this.
Yes. I'm hoping we can get there so that it can actually just live on its own.
Yeah.
Ultimately. Because that's anything, that's what we all want, Molofat saying, you are hoping your child will become their own person. Because so similarly so with the business, and when you start it, you are hoping that it can live on its own ultimately.
Now, at its core, translating the Protea is Manaka's attempt to using poetry as a tool for cultural inclusivity. Hey, Slungu, inclusivity,
please.
Baba.
Yeah, we have to say it right. Inclusivity.
Yes.
Sure.
Highlighting poetry's innovative ability to address unsettled past differences. Please elaborate on that.
Well, look, with this, so the book has been translated into Sixhosa, Sepedi, and Afrikaans, right? And ultimately, it's more of a template. Let's see how this works, because translating the Protea is translating my third book. Four. Yeah, the four. So this is but this book here, it channels the feminine energy.
Yes.
In that it looks at the paternal, maternal, and the maternal, paternal. So I'm looking at my father. I'm looking at my my grandmother's father. And then I'm looking at my my mother's father's father, actually. And so this is where the thing comes from for me, right? In that, as a template, firstly, but at the same time, too, how do I channel these that are all in me, you know? And at the same time, too, the book deals with complex issues of self and reflecting on the female energy that one embodies in me, myself, because ke godiswa ke basadi ko gae, right? And a gona ke tseba ntate e le mme ka mo ntlong, but you know, in that my grandmother is the matriarch, you know, in that sense gore ke ena o tshwereng dilo, you know, o tshwere yeah, na tshwere thipa mo mogale ga mele bitsa ke B, you know, so and it's a you know, bonolo bo bontle wa tlhaloganya, right? I mean, it's a sting of a bee, I suppose, right? So so it is like that. And she used to say gore monna wa tseba go na le notsi ka mo ntlong o tsebe gantle gore sweet news are coming, you know. So I suppose I'm in the presence of sweetness, you know.
Hey, come on now.
You know, so there is that energy, you know, the energy of the female energy is so it's so powerful, my sister, in that Kiona, you know, we relate to each other through the mother. So konna mudimu kimme. I call my mother God, to be honest, and my mothers are gods, you know, so I look at you and I see a God more than anything else, you know. And I know that each and every one of us has the capacity and the capability of this feminine energy. Because how can you want to o ka batla o tsenya jwang ntwe ka tlareng e go fa bophelo wa tlhaloganya, you can't do that, right? And this project, if anything, translating the Protea, it looks at that. And Protea, when you look at it as a flower, I mean, Modimo,
with
right?
layers,
And I bought it doesn't die. I mean, when it dies, it becomes more beautiful. You know, I mean, you should see my grandmother, man. You know, like you know, afro. No. My grandmother is hot. My mother is beautiful too. You know, I mean, on the real. You know, so these are the kinds of people that I come from, and her mother's mother too. You know, I mean, we're talking about resilient people here. And the Protea is a reflection of that resilience more than anything else. Because akona motoling resilient, no lie. You know, like a black woman is very resilient, my sister. The black skin on its own is tough, right? But the sisters, Jesus, Mudimo, I mean, akona moto katlarengona le, you know, that amount of pressure put on, not just only by society, but also by le monnaga ka montlong, pressure we thola ko strating, white lisa uape samme. I mean,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, you know, and I think at sometimes when all of these things are happening, we forget gore monna le ena ona le bosadi. You know, and there is that energy that we somehow you know, almost we don't want to be inclusive with it, right? And hence the inclusivity of our cultural beings, because we are, you know, you know, culture always changes, right? But as Cabral would have it, that our rituals and traditions are the tools we use to survive the times. So we must not forget mosadi ke eng, monna ke eng, ntate ka mo ntlong, mme ka mo ntlong. So all of these nuances, right? How do you articulate them now in a poem? Because I'm a poet, but so I need to feel like you know. And when I go, depends on how the poem comes. Because sometimes it comes kilo ko toilet. Really, it doesn't.
It's creativity. It has that.
I want to tell. So I channel that, and I think, and I listen more than anything else, because the poems are, they're floating. The poem, the poet doesn't go in search of the poem. The poems come in search of the poet.
Yeah.
Well, I want to treasure. This is the Chinese poet who once said that. So I love that quote, by the way, actually. So ha ke di shebile so ke a bona gore gantle, there's a disconnection happening here, in that maleme a rona are disconnected from the soil, Yeah, shout out to the soil, but
Yeah. Yes.
they are reconnecting more than anything else, and that's what one is trying to do, if with anything and everything, and it's everything that it's been my path to reconnect more than, because to say gore batho ba moya, sure, re batho ba moya, no doubt, this goes without saying, but re batho ra phedisana, tshwanetse re rutana go phedisana, tshwanetse re kgone go buisana, jaanong a re sa kgone go bua ka maleme a rona, and re tlhalogantsane pila, re bontshane, re bona, there's an elephant in the room. We must teach each other how to eat this elephant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our languages are connected to the movement of the soil, if anything, to the movement of the land. So ownership of land is ownership of language. Ownership of one's language is the ownership of the land, if anything. This is a psychological liberation from imperialism, ultimately, because that's what we want. We want to liberate ourselves psychologically. And how we do that, we begin with our languages. So translating the Protea does that.
Sorry to interject there. Talking about languages, why did you choose Xhosa, Sepedi, and Afrikaans?
Because of my grandfathers. I'm channeling my great-grandfathers. Let's see how we walk this, how we work this, the present is always a dangerous place to live in, man. The present is dangerous, my sister, really. There is a lot of disconnection happening, You don't feel safe in your own skin, yet alone your own home. You don't feel safe to say I'm a black person. You don't feel safe to say that because you'll get cancelled or some sort. There's an issue of security and insecurity, And, we look at protection as the father, right? And I'm not looking at it from a perspective of provide, protect. No, as in, ntate o berekela gore lelapa le kgone go tia, and lelapa ha le tia go tia mme more than anything else, because ke mme lelapa, right? So the mother is home. Home is mother, right?
Gives that warmth.
And so nna ke godiswa ke bo Maoledi. I wanna ke motho bo Maoledi grand, bo Makreza, one shapile. They shaped me up very beautifully, so too.
Yeah.
But there is that element, Jabondad, because we are walking in the world without understanding what manhood is at sometimes, and we were talking about this in the car earlier on, that capitalism is selfish. Imperialism is very individualistic, my sister. And I believe in individuality, not individualism. We are a collective, right? It takes two people to build a home, man. When sevens clash, Babylon come crash, my sister. The first thing that imperialism made sure it did during the times of colonization was to make sure that we separate the unit, we separate the African family unit, right? And with, family is the one space that will never forget you, that will always forgive you more than anything else, depending on how much you want to forgive yourself, because it's not like there's always in-law war, we know these issues, man. But you as the individual within the spectrum of the collective, how are you able to forgive yourself? Can you forgive yourself? Buddha says to us that learning how to let go is learning how to let go is knowing how to confront all. So as a person, you also need to do the work. I mean, you know, happiness is
It's
an
internal.
everyday.
Yeah.
It's an everyday job
Yeah.
to be happy. You know, I mean, Farrell, clap your hands if you know, if you feel like a roof. If you feel like a house without a roof, you know, and I'm like, yes, of course I feel like that. But it's an everyday process,
Yeah.
right? You don't wake up feeling like this because sometimes you don't want to get out of bed. You know, sometimes wanna khantle gore di SMS tsena di dingata ke debt upon this and I don't subscribe to black tax, by the way. I don't know what that means. You know, I mean, you know, I mean,
let me help where I
ha ke
can.
khona ke a khona a ke sa khone a ke khone wa bona you know ska ba taba ya gore phela you know psychologically there's a lot of hence the disconnection. We are a little bit disconnected, not only just from the land but also from our inner selves. You know, like as really ba to ba moya so khona la moya ka tlareng we are not, you know, and it's right here. All you just need to do, fella, you know, and breathe, right? So this is what is the, you know, the kind of reflections that one has been kind of going through and dealing with. You know, I mean, my father died when I was 14. You know, in my heart, basically. Because art life is no easy life, my sister.
Oh, I agree with you. I know very well.
Art life is no easy life, right? So there were issues between my parents and you know, and all that stuff. So he was not around, basically. And by the time he got to die in the flesh, when I was 15, you know, I fuck all a little time. I want to take next. And I'm named after his father. So I'm pizza papa. You know, but as I get older, you know, as I get older and I reflect, you know, because this is one of the things that I like to do more than anything else, is to reflect, you know, to sit back and actually go, whew, and reflect, and this is not so easy to do. This is not so simple at the same time too, because capitalism says you must do this, you must do that, you must do that in order to feed this machine. You know, this supremacy machine, man, this imperialistic, it's a supremacy, you know, and it's very Eurocentric to a certain extent. You know, very Eurocentric. So when we come into the Afrocentric kind of thinking, we're talking about the collective. We're talking about battling before, battling after. You know, kawana kere phela remote ceiling revaya sompincho. I bona ke shebile wena braga ska wara. Remote training khantle. Iyeza na kuwele mini njaya. Wa bona ntwe jalo. So, you know, so ene ra thusana ntse re ya ko pele ha ntse re ya ra tsofala ra thusa. So dilo tse so wa di golela man. And how le ngwana when you are in your 20s and you are angry and you are shouting, you know, and all of these things, mara ntso ya golo bona gantle gore, you know, a peace of heart, peace of mind. This is self-love, you know, this is growth, you know, this is you know, and when you share this, you can't keep such things for yourself. You cannot, you can never.
Talking about sharing growth, Mac, can you please tell us what's going to be happening? Because you're going to be launching Translating the Protea.
Yeah.
Plus also, it is going to be the launch of the publishing company.
Manaka Publics, Manaka Publications,
and the online store. When is this happening? Where? How do we partake?
This is happening on the 27th of you know, the day of X marks the spot.
Yes.
Right? The day of our marking. Right? Yeah, because you know, I don't want to call it by any other name, in all honesty, because it doesn't feel independent. You know, I mean, it's a day of transitioning, rather, let's say it like that. Right? On the day of transitioning, right? Kari 27, go Market Lab, go Newtown, no? Market Laboratory, go Machene Theater, you know, and this is where young people actually, I'm still young, you know, this thing of young people, so this is where the students, Bako Lab, normally showcase their work, you know, and there's no better place than to do it at the Market Theatre. For me, it's more nostalgic because my first book was launched Kokipis in 2003. 20 years ago. I mean,
Wow.
but I'm not graying. There's nothing wrong with aging.
Yeah.
You know, so on the day, we are launching not just only the books, but rather the project in itself. Because the project is bigger than me. The project is how do we translate poetry, our poetry. For instance, Sounds of the Cowhide Drum, Ntate Oswald Mchali. How do we translate that into our languages? How do we make our poetry accessible? Because poetry monate, I mean, you know, when you listen to Rampolo and go, Baudelaire lost his hand, the rap dragon's leg, Ginsberg running wild on jazz music, organic, nothing plastic, oral poetics in the mix, colonial tactics, fake the facts. I take it back, reappropriation act. I mean, you hear this. Can you translate that? Can we get poets who are well versed in the languages to translate this? So this is one of the biggest things about one of the driving force behind the publishing house, behind Manaka Publications, if anything, is to promote the writer's skill set outside of writing.
Yeah.
To promote that. Gore as areba kwadi fela. You know, we are linguists in our own right. Because the thing about poetry and language is that poetry stretches language. We label or heaven. So the project translating the Protea is exactly that. So this is something, it's a lifetime attempt of a project myself. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. You know, and this is where I start. You know, it's funny, you know, but life begins at 40. You know, I mean, I'm turning 40 now in July, and it has never been more clear. Okay, this is it. I mean, I can't see myself doing anything else but this. You know, in that, you know, there's something more, there's something as special in how you tell a story. What's about some of the greatest storytellers you know, so these kind of narratives need to be told and need to be translated to, need to be shared.
Yes.
Right? South Africa has a vast, as a canon of amazing poets. Bona. I mean, it took me to go to varsity to know this, that I come from, you know, and this is also for the poet who's starting now. You know, this is also for the younger poets, you know, who are like, this is my thing, yo. Because I also used to be like, this is my thing, yo.
And look at you now. Look at you
and
now.
I'm like, yo, you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there is Towards a Walk in the Sun. I mean, yo, you don't know, man. I mean, I mean, yo, bona. Like the library, it is
It's
so
a lot.
huge.
Yeah.
Are ink, leave me to sleep. Right? Now we need these voices. And it's not a matter of preservation, but a matter of, you know, life is continuum. I believe in the continuum poem. The poem is always continuum. The poem never ends. You know, that
And such is life.
Such is
Such is life.
my sister. No doubt.
Mak
You know.
Manaka. You know, I know for a fact that we could chat up till tomorrow evening, and you know what?
Yeah,
But
ikala ka 2 re thoma ka 2:30 ko Market Lab. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm very excited. It's yeah, I'm
It's
super
your
excited.
passion.
Yeah,
It's your passion.
Yeah, it rejuvenates me, no
Yeah.
doubt. You know, ka mo gare ga dikoloto tse kaofela motho sa gona
Ho kusalayo,
go
ho
thaba
na le
o kusalayo re ya pele wa itlhalogana ding.
Nice
So
stuff.
on the 27th, we are launching Translating the Protea. Etlang kaofela. Actually, we are launching Flowers of a Broken Smile translated into Sexhosa, Afrikaans,
and Sepedi.
and Sesotho sa Leboa.
Oh, okay,
Ape re
yes.
lata da. Wa e tlhaloganya ka bona ona le Sesotho sa matlala, sa maletši, wa bona ona le sa batokwa. So ke Sesotho sa Leboa gantle. Phela we must decolonize some part of ourselves at least, you know. Re tla mo bona Jesu ka Easter, you know. So, so some part of ourselves needs to be decolonized a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, where do we begin? Where do we start? On the 27th,
Nice
we celebrate ourselves more than anything else, and I think it's about time that we celebrate ourselves.
Yeah.
You do good, my sister. You know, you are beautiful.
Thank you, brother.
And not from a perspective ya gore ke goletsa favor. No, ka nnete. Mmereko wa gago boima. You know, and re go lebeletse, re go mametse, you know, re go ratile ra go rata.
Ke a leboga hle mme ke
Wala
tle.
ops.
Ah man, translating the Protea, my darling.
jwalo.
Le mutlile a re femininity, darling. That's how we roll. Ha! The 27th of April, that's going to be happening at the Market Theatre. Do make sure that you get there. Thank you so much, my brother, for coming
Thank
through.
you for having me, my sister. Lebogile go monagana.
Aha, that's right. This is The Hive with me, Bonolo BSting, right here on Kaya 959, on the street and on the air.